Here, just in case, Rolf, I wanted to take over the club again. I've got my heavies with me.
I see that.
Well, and could everybody stand who is in the current World Service Committee or prior World Service Committees to be acknowledged for their boots on the ground? So we have been assigned to talk about what the World Community Service has been doing this last year. So I figured that we would start with a couple of slides just to explain how things work. So on the screen you can see that when you're asked to give to our foundation drive, it goes into 3 buckets and you select where it goes. You either have the club foundation, you pick Polio Plus, or Rotary International's foundation. So we're going to focus on the Rotary Foundation. So essentially what happens there is the amount that you allocate to Rotary International goes into their annual fund. And they collect the funds for 3 years, then they release the first year plus interest from the permanent fund that goes back to our district. And then there's a big permanent fund as well that is an endowment, isn't spent, but interest comes back as well. So ultimately what happens with our projects is that in our club we usually get assigned about 40,000 in a given year. We're always trying to negotiate for more, but 40 we'll take. And so when we look at that, so usually our grants are 10,000 that we deliver from our club. So then this district money, which is money that comes back from Rotary International that was in the prior slide, gets matched. And then Rotary International matches themselves for 15,000. So effectively, every 10,000 we put into a project matches with 35,000 end result. Now our members have been working at the district level and on the ground for many, many years, so I think that we are one of the most effective groups in the district. So effectively we've made a lot of friends in other districts and friends within the district, so we always manage to corral other clubs in with us. So most of our projects actually end up being about a $70,000 spend because we'll join with either another club or we'll find another district that will match with that club as well. And so we work very, very hard to leverage your dollars here. So if you think about it, it's just amazing, the amount that you give. And when we look at this year, and this is no exaggeration, if we look at the projects that we have completed already this year and of the few that are in process still, we were given 40,000 as a group, and we've effectively leveraged it to almost 400,000 for the year, and that's by Colorado. Working in the investment industry, that a 10x return, it's usually very hard to promise, and we'll see what happens with Trump and May today. But you can see that your investment in Rotary is very well cared for, and we take it very, very seriously. So I would like everybody to stand who has given to either our foundation, the silent auction, Polio Plus, or Rotary International in the last 3 years. Please stand. And if you wouldn't mind turning around to the neighbour that's standing as well and congratulate them, saying very well done.
Well done.
Well done.
Excellent. And you may be seated, thank you. And the reason that I wanted you all to do this is that the projects that we're highlighting today, that the 3 of us will be highlighting today, this is your money. Everyone that stood up, this is your money, this is your project. If you'd like a copy of our presentation afterwards to go and tell all of your friends and family and post on Facebook, this is what I did, this is what you did, and we're really proud to present it to you. So I'm going to start with Ecuador. So one of our projects this year was to develop an organic farm down there. And usually you would say, well, do you really need Whole Foods instead of Cub? Why can't you just go to Cub? Why do you actually need an organic farm? Was this a good spending of money? Well, what happened in this area in Ecuador is that the local population actually requested this project. Many people, many ladies may know that a lot of roses come from Ecuador, so a lot of the land that's being used in the area is just for roses that get cut and sent up back to the US. So effectively what's happening in the local population is, for those that aren't in that industry, there's very poor farming because they're being stripped through just creating the roses. There's an awful lot of poverty and hunger with children and elders in the area as well. And so this community came back and said, all of our young people are being recruited into the rose industry, and we're losing our connection with the land, we're losing our knowledge on how to farm, and organic farming was effectively just the way we all used to do it. So they lost how to do it. So they asked for a grant to create this organic farm. What they do that they, in addition to creating the crops, very cleverly, they also collect all the native seeds, because as you know, so many seeds get changed over the years. So they wanted to make sure that they had all of the original seeds, so they have a huge collection of those. They also decided that they wanted to teach others. So within this project, they also created an entire community service association that will go and teach others around other areas in Ecuador. And wonderfully, they also agreed within Rotarians in the district that Rotarians would be the first people to buy their products as well. So they're feeding themselves, feeding Rotarians, and then teaching others to do it. So it's a wonderful way to leverage things. This project ended up being 70,000 because we took our 10,000 in and then partnered with another group in the area as well. And you can see here that one of the things that they take most pride in is the visits from different district governors. So the district governor from 4400 visited them, and as part of our due diligence, the projects that get approved need to show that they're sustainable. Rotary used to be just delivering sort of a package there and then leaving and then moving on to the next one. And that very much is needed around the world. But Rotary International's new mission is really to try and teach people how to fish. So it must have a teaching element to it. It must have something that's sustainable and repeatable after we've gone. So our committee has actually gone through a huge change over the last couple of years in being able to adapt to this new environment. And the last piece is the accountability. Is seeing that the money was spent where it's supposed to be spent and everything's tied out. And believe me, Rotary International ties out to the dollar to make sure that your money has been appropriated properly. And then lastly, this is just a picture of the native seeds. So I'm going to pass over to Fred now to speak about our fabulous man talking about one woman, one goat.
Thank you, Sharon. So I can't take credit for this project. This was actually spearheaded by Linda Stewart, who's the head of the World Community Service Committee, who unfortunately couldn't be here, but this has kind of been, for the last couple of years, her focus and her effort. But the One Woman, One Goat project is just as it sounds. Our Rotary Club partners with COSAD, Tanzania, which is the Community Solutions for African Development, along with the Rotary Club in Bukoba, which is a village in Tanzania that serves the village of Bukoba. But this project essentially endows individuals within the community with a dairy goat. So why is this important? Well, a lot of this community has been hit by HIV, by war, and so there's a lot of widows and orphans in the community that don't have a source of income. So this project falls under one of Rotary's 6 areas of focus of economic and community development. But by giving these widows goats and teaching them how to tend to the goats and animal husbandry teaching, they're able to produce milk to sell the milk for income, provide milk for their children, but also really stimulate the local economy, which has a lot of knock-on effects. And so this project has been an extension of kind of a mission that started in 2008 and has kind of progressed throughout the villages in Tanzania. So, our own, one of our own Rotarians, Tom Bizak, is currently in Tanzania right now, working on this project and helping out. You can see him there on the left. But I wanted to share with you just some words that he shared with us when we asked him if he could comment on the project. To date, One Woman, One Goat has placed goats with 170 women who are living in one of the nearby villages. We expect to surpass the 200 goal within 3 months. You might also want to be aware that there's been a drought here for many months, with unusually warm temperatures. This creates a need for more water as some of the water sources are drying up, which is driving up the cost of both food, both human and animal. Despite this, women in villages I have worked with are passionate and committed and above all grateful. They see this program as a blessing that provides them with hope and opportunity. I am totally taken back when I see the outpouring of appreciation and gratitude coming from those who have so little. I believe the program has been well designed by only providing healthy goats, providing training and support on goat care, establishing small community groups that work together and support each other, and then expecting them to breed and return a goat to the program within 1 year leads to a sustainable outcome. A few days ago, 7 out of 10 women in one group completed this contract within 6 months. Needless to say, I'm impressed with this program and so happy Rotary has supported it. Thanks. Like Sharon, this project is only made possible by those who have donated, so we really appreciate your support in this mission. I think what's remarkable about this program is that it is under the category of community and economic development, but this project has so many other benefits to the community, and from education and literacy to maternal health and disease prevention. This One Woman, One Goat project, the way it works is 50% of the milk produced will go back to the children of the families that are tending to the goats, and then 50% can either be sold typically to an orphanage or a school, which from that standpoint, from the education standpoint, allows children to go to school, like Shannon said, and be nourished and be able to concentrate. And so it's a really unique way of breaking the cycle of poverty within the community through economic development that has these knock-on effects. Another remarkable aspect is that all of the projects that Rotary engages in, they really think deeply about the effect on the local economy. So the sources and all the materials are sourced locally so as not to disrupt any local industries. And by doing that, they're really stimulating the economy by encouraging entrepreneurs and other people that will help out with this project through ancillary services. Really encourages a bigger impact in the community. And the last thing is that this project, or the previous extension of this project, actually won second place at the district conference. So it's been a really great project and a great model that I think we can extend in our future projects as well.
The remarkable things also about that project is that the first kid that's born of the goat then goes on to create another one, and so we're just propagating the world with women and goats. I'm very excited. Yeah. So now on to Peru with the Maternal Lactation Center. So this was a very interesting project. It actually came up from rather a sensitive topic that was brought up in Rotarian clubs down in Peru. It was actually Rotarian doctors and lawyers in one club that started talking about the divorces that they were seeing within the area of women who could not breastfeed were being divorced because they were deemed in the community as not really being sort of appropriate mothers and wives. And so it was a really fascinating project in that they felt that there was a strong need for some education there. So this project is again a $70,000 project. Our district did a matching grant, but there's also a very large anonymous donor within the district as well that joined on this project. So again, it was a $70,001, and this also includes, we never build spaces, we can't do bricks and mortar, and that's because usually after you leave, villages may argue about sort of who owns it and things like that, but we can fill spaces. And so our project was to fill the space, get the trainers down there, provide the information, and to create the sustainability there. There's actually a doctor from Children's Hospital in Minnesota that's gone down there to train them, and also doctors from Chile as well. Linda, who's much more familiar with this project, had really talked about this area in Peru being one of the most malnourished in terms of their children under 5. So again, it's a very impoverished area, really valuable thing, because you look at it on the face of it and say, well, why would you need a lactation center in the middle of Peru? But what we do is that these ideas don't come from our committee. We go out to other countries and then ask them what they need first, and that's probably one of the most important things to do to make sure they keep using it. So now I'm going to finish and pass over to Henry to talk about South Africa.
Some of you may remember last year about this time we had a visitor, Mark Chennels from South Africa, who spoke to us about this school building project. In the United States it's called Africa Classroom Connection. And before we start, I'd like to recognize that we have 3 of the board members here with us. Barbara Bensini, Jeff Nelson, and Rich Klaber, who's a member of our club. Jeff's also a member of our club under the dual membership. So, a special shout out to Barbara because she was a donor to this project, so she wrote a check to Minneapolis Rotary Foundation herself to help pay for the project. I usually say I don't want pictures of me about a project, but the kids here are just so great, I figured you could ignore me in the picture. But this is a typical situation that we experience when we go to South Africa. The kids are full of life and energy, and they're so committed to education. What happened in South Africa in the previous century was that during the apartheid era, it was against the law to teach rural black children because they didn't need the education for a job, and therefore they weren't educated. And so up until 1989 or 1994, there was virtually no construction of classrooms in the entire rural area of South Africa. That means there's hundreds of thousands, there's millions of children with no facilities. In 1976, a small Rotary club in South Africa named Eshoa, the town is called Eshoa, and it's only got 6 members in the club. They were approached by the Zulu king, and he asked them to build a classroom. And they said, oh, we don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole, we'll get in trouble. But they were a little clever, and they figured out that it wasn't against the law to build a building, it was against the law to teach. So they went ahead and built the building. And the king put up 10% of the cost, as the Rotary Club found the other 90%. And that classroom has now mushroomed to be 4,000 classrooms in 800 villages around South Africa. The program has built more classrooms than the government of South Africa. So it's an astonishing project. So this is what often happens, is that schools are overcrowded, so they often have class outside. This is a pretty picture because it's a nice sunny day, it looks warm, the teacher's happy, but that's not the way it is every day. That's when we take pictures. But what really happens is that South Africa has a moderate climate, so during their winter it can be down in the 30s, and the kids are supposed to go to school anyway, there's no heat. If it's raining, they're outside in the rain, and if you're a smart kid, you wake up at 8:30, and if it's raining, you roll over and you go back to bed because you don't want to be outside in the cold, and so the kids don't get an education. This particular school is called Ekupakameni, and their attendance rate has doubled since they got the classrooms from us. So congratulations to them. This is another classroom outside. This is a secondary school. And one of the things that you remember in your own secondary school education, there will be multiple tracks. Like somebody will be in the social science track, somebody else will be in the art track, somebody else will be in the business track. So they need even more classrooms than there are kids. And so this is a business class that's happening outside because they don't have enough room for all the kids. The Rotary Club founded the project, and they've built more than 3,000 classrooms in 800 villages. The village puts up 5% of the cost, and then the donors pay the rest. So it's really a self-help program. It's also local decisions. We don't decide where the schools will be or how many there will be. It's all decided locally by the Zulu people. It's replicable in that every school is identical, so you can drive through Zululand, South Africa, and you can, that's one of our schools, because they all look the same. One of the things I think is funny is that the toilets are often funded by Rotary, and I think the kids think that the cog with blue is the sign for toilet. Because most of the toilets have been built by Rotary clubs. That's a lot. it's replicable in that there's standard plans and so on. It's local labor. We don't want to take jobs away from Africans, so we don't go and pound any nails or build anything. We hire local labor. It's sustainable in that it's staffed and maintained by the government. We won't build the school unless the government agrees to take care of it. And we have international accountability in that they have audited financial statements and so on. It's a Rotary Club. You know, so the Rotary Club is very careful with our money, and so they take good care of us. And then we go visit as well. Now, one of the things I'd like to mention about this particular project is that this is different than most of the projects the World Service Committee deals with. Almost everything the World Service Committee does is to find a grant, then get it matched by the district, then get it matched by Rotary International. However, Rotary International rules say we can't build buildings. And thank goodness Bruce at the World Service Committee said, I wish we could do something to work with Mark Chennell's project after he saw the presentation last January. And everyone said, well, we want to get the biggest leverage, so we want the match. And being the introvert that I am, I said, what about if I go out and get the match? And so within about 3 weeks, I took the $5,000 from the World Service Committee and raised $15,000 from other donors, which has been good for building 2 classrooms. They're under construction right now. They're going to say Minneapolis Rotary 9 above the door. And the donors are new donors to our foundation. They weren't Rotarians. Well, there's one Rotarian. But the donors are people from in our community that are being exposed to Rotary for the first time. So I think this is a great win-win. We reduced the burden on the Rotary International Foundation. They can use the money for something else. We used our money with the leverage we were looking for, and we generated new contacts for more funding. So I want to thank you very much, especially the people on the World Service Committee that were open to this idea. I think they were a little skeptical as to whether it would pull off. But I'm hoping that this can be an established long-term trend that we can keep building schools. So thanks to you, there's 100 kids now going to be in school this year, next year, the next year, for generations because of Rotary Club Minneapolis, number 9. So.
So we're available to answer any questions. We're available for lunches to talk about how the Rotary giving works. Anything you like.
I'm really interested in the one woman, one goat thing because I think in Falcon Heights, right next to the state fairgrounds where I live, that has some possibility too. But anyway, you didn't mention the investment, or what were the parameters on our investment, and how has that worked out? What did we invest in it, and how is that continuing?
You mean particularly the one woman, one goat project?
Yes, that one.
So that was a $35,000 project. Part of that funds went to actually purchasing the goats. So I think about 100 were purchased, and then through procreation, obviously the goats continue building. But the rest was for the water retention. As Tom mentioned, water retention and just the drought there has a big impact, and goats require a lot of water, but it pays for animal medicine as well as training.
And the interesting thing on the one woman, one goat is that we've replicated that same project again in another area in Ecuador as well. So it was a nice one to repeat.
And in international development, one of the largest things that we've been learning over the last 20 or 30 years, not just Rotary but other international development organizations, is that personal responsibility for the outcome is really important. So the fact that the women are responsible to give back the goat is really important. The goat is not a gift, the goat is a loan. So it's really a great idea. Really what they're getting from us is the training.
Sharon, back, seems like ages ago now, when I was president, I think that was the time when Rotary was getting more restrictive, I would say, on the global grants. And I'm wondering kind of how that's played out with smaller clubs. I know we partner a lot because we've got the kind of ability to get through the paperwork, as it were. Are we seeing a drop in participation from other clubs that aren't able to kind of put forth a project?
Yeah, so Rotary decided, much like a lot of large foundations, that you had to have a $10,000 minimum for a project because it was just administrative. It would cost them just as much to do the small ones as the large ones. This caused an awful lot of consternation amongst the small clubs because they were really used to being able to do projects by themselves. What has ultimately happened is that there's a massive amount of collaboration. For example, a couple of our projects have 35 different clubs on them. And it really helps our club create friendships as well, because even at the district level, because they want to be fair, they will only let us have one project at a time until other ones have sort of had the go around. But thankfully, the money doesn't get spent, and they come around again, and we're like, we're ready again. So and so we've got sort of another 3 or 4 on, in the hopper. But it's created a very different environment. It was a very difficult time for Rotary International to adjust to the new environment. But we, as a committee, we believe it's for the best, because again, it reduces costs at Rotary International, and then it was really the accountability and the sustainability factor they put in. We were so used to delivering supplies and off we went, and it's so easy to be able to do that, because now you have to be a lot more creative around how to move things forward. But for the long term, our good will propagate many times over. But thanks for that.
There's for a couple of years, the district put us on a diet and said we were limited to 2 projects a year. And what they found is that because we're so big, we always had enough to fill that or more, and other clubs didn't. So they've sort of let up on the diet idea, and they've also raised the maximum. It used to be we couldn't do more than 10,000 either. Now we can do 15. There's a project coming through World Service Committee this year that has about 40 clubs on it in 3 countries in Africa, from Books for Africa, to send books. So that's an example of the collaboration she talked about.
I'd just like to say briefly that over the years, many of us have worked on that committee, and some really bright people. But there's only one person that I know that had the patience to become expert and to get us through all the politics at district so that we could be as successful as we are. And I think he really deserves a deep round of applause. Bruce Hedblum, would you please stand and take a
And I would add to that Linda Stewart as well, because when many of us in the committee were saying, no, we just want to drop supplies off, she kept reiterating and reiterating and reiterating the benefit of the change that we were going through.
I have a quick question on the GO program. Water's a problem, so is food. What do they eat?
Goat chow.
Goat.
They eat grass. As far as I know.
All of the photos that we've got back from the project, and the ones that had Tom there, this was just literally yesterday or the day before, they look like chubby little goats. They may be pregnant, and I'm not good with animal husbandry, but they look like they're faring well down there.
I have a question. I know that every year the Dancing with the Twin Cities Celebrities will donate around, or with the help of fellow Rotarians, will raise the money and give to the foundation around $10,000. And I'm thinking that the fundraising efforts may be easier if we have a specific project to donate to. So I'd really like the help of the committee and maybe fellow Rotarians for suggestions on where that money should go to. And it's really exciting to hear that a $10,000 donation can potentially be $100,000. That's amazing. So just makes it even more important every single dollar that we donate, right? Yeah. So I would love some input on that.
That's brilliant. And yes, you can designate donations, so that's definitely something we can do.
One of the things that I wanted to add about the One Woman, One Goat project was Rotary clubs had done a number of medicine drives in these local communities, and they received feedback regarding just these kind of one-time drops, which I think unintentionally made the individuals in the community feel disempowered. When we were requesting some feedback regarding which projects they wanted sponsored, they took it upon themselves, these individuals, to request, we want to empower ourselves. We want these goats so that we can take care of ourselves rather than feeling dependent on outside assistance. And I think that's a factor that sometimes goes unnoticed with community service projects, that they don't want charity, they want the help so that they can help themselves. And I think that's been one of the reasons why project has been so impactful is that it's really them taking care of themselves and really benefiting their own community through their hard work.
And I would just say that in closing again, yeah, the last clap is really for all of you. I mean, this is your money, this is your project. You've asked the Work Service Committee to be good stewards of your money, but this is all because of you, and we really are very appreciative of that. Thank you.
Thank you.